The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the What NAV Users Need to Know About Shop Floor Data Collection webinar. My name is Michael Introvertolo, and I am the Marketing Manager here at Solution Systems. Today, we are very fortunate and lucky to have Mark Hamblin with us from InsightWorks. Mark is the president of InsightWorks, which is a software development and consulting firm that specializes in add-ons for Microsoft Dynamics NAV. So with that, let me go ahead and change this over to him, and he can begin.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I guess it is mostly morning for everybody. I'm just switching over to show my screen. Excellent. So what we're going to do today is spend, about 45 minutes roughly going through the shop floor data collection solution and, why it would be a useful tool for you to consider. So I have, a few minutes worth of PowerPoint stuff to go through here, but the bulk of this session will be going through the software and having a look at what it looks like. But I do have to bore you a bit with the PowerPoint. So let's start with that. A little bit about InsightWorks. You can go to the website dmsiworks.com and check it out. But we've been around for 9 years or so now. We supply products globally. We're dedicated to NAV and manufacturing distribution for the most part. Fairly solid company, been around for a while. We've got hundreds of installs out there. All right, enough of that. What we want to go through today is Shop Floor Insight. That's this product that I'm pointing at here. But this is the entire product line, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about this. But if you do have a need for other tools, warehouse management, or even just document drag and drop, that type of thing, then feel free to look us up or contact Solution Systems for more information. All right, but what we care about today are the shop floor insight tools and capabilities. And so I thought I'd bring this slide up because I won't be able to cover all of this in the demo, so being able to bring it up and talk about it here a little bit is good. A couple of the things that don't get a lot of attention generally, or sort of we don't talk about enough, are things like the time and attendance. So we can manage, the punch clock, clock in, clock out for the day. We can manage breaks, all of those sorts of things. Then we can calculate, overtime and other payroll calculations, and send that off to your payroll system to do the actual deductions and payroll. So what that means is from the time people clock in the morning, until they get their pay stub a couple weeks later, nobody is touching that information at all. It's all sort of automated. So that whole time and attendance piece is part of the system. It comes with it, and you can use it or not if you like. The main reason people generally look at this tool is for the barcoded labor collection. So the ability to capture activities that are happening on the shop floor with barcodes or touch screens and that sort of thing. But there's a whole lot more around that because it is a shop floor data collection product. We've got things like quality inspections, dispatching, scheduling, all of those sorts of things come with the product as well. And now, what would you pay for all that? It's like a late night TV commercial kind of thing. So I'll just give you a quick idea of what the solution costs, and it's extremely cost effective. So what you'd be looking at is, if you're a 25 employee shop, you'd be looking at about $4,500 for everything that we just talked about and everything you'll see today that I'll show you. And if you're a 100-person shop, it's still under $10,000 for the solution. So it's hard to beat that pricing, especially for what you get. It becomes almost mandatory that this is part of your system if you're running a manufacturing facility or recording time against jobs for professional services or field service or whatever. This is a good solution for you. All right, now there is a return on investment calculator. So if you want to see sort of what the impact of this will be, over compared to your purchase cost, you can go online, just look up the ROI calculator. And or if you want it in an Excel spreadsheet, just check with your Solution Systems rep. They can get you a copy, and you can plug in your numbers, and it'll give you an estimated payback period. And that's the sample one here where it says 4 months. that's not unrealistic. We see 6 to 12 months usually is the total payback period on it. So you install it, 6 months later, it's paid for itself. So again, it's hard to overemphasize how valuable the solution is. All right. Now, in addition to that software cost that we just went through, there's also hardware that you need on the shop floor. So typically, you're going to use a fixed terminal out on the shop floor that people walk up to with a traveler or some sort of barcode, scan that to record their time. Now, the other option is, you can have tablets or mobile devices for certain people that need them, but generally you're going to have that fixed terminal out on the shop floor. And the things that we can use with that are, standard PCs, thin clients. So Chromebox is a pretty common one for us now. There's a model that's a couple $100, no moving parts. You throw it out there, hook it up to a monitor, and you're off to the races. And a few other things. Industrial touch screens are kind of nice, but they get pricey. But if you're in foods or something like that where you need to wash things down, that might be the way to go. Or if you want to go more paperless and not use barcodes, then that would be a good one as well. A few little screenshots or images here for the type of hardware. This is a Chromebox up here. It's about 4 inches square and 1.5 inches tall, something like that. No moving parts, like I said, so it's a good solution, a couple $100. Stick PC that's the size of a remote control or something. Plug it into the back of the monitor, and you've got a full computer going. Industrial touch screen, that sort of thing. As far as how we read the barcodes, it's this style of scanner, pretty commodity type of thing. Plug it in, USB scanner, and you scan all your barcodes through that. And here's an example of a terminal. This one's actually been, this is one of the first clients we actually implemented, so 8 or 9 years ago. And, you can see 8 or 9 years worth of dust on that little rubberized keyboard there. But this terminal has been running there. This is a little thin client terminal sitting there on a normal monitor in a case they've got. And this barcode sheet here, they've got a laminated barcode sheet there for anything that's not production order specific. So that might be assets or specific activity codes that they want to scan to record non-productive time, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But you can see how those terminals are sometimes laid out in the shop. All right, now as far as barcodes go, we've got the badges over here. So I'll talk about scanning badges, and that allows you to unlock the terminal. So these badges are actually generated from within NAV. So you go in, you print the report, typically on perforated paper, and they laminate it or put it in a little badge holder sort of thing. If you've already got ID badges, you can just print the barcode, stick it on the back of the badge, and away you go. If you don't want to use badges, we've got facial recognition for the time and attendance, and you can use something like a key fob or whatever you like to clock in. Over here, we've got a sample shop floor traveler. So this is what you would typically use on the shop floor. You notice each operation has its own barcode. You can have a barcode for setup time and run time. And that's the only barcode we scan. So you'll see when I go in there, I'm scanning a single barcode to identify the operation, production order, all of that sort of thing. All right, so that's it for sort of the presentation side of it. Let's actually have a look at what this thing looks like. So if I go in here, what we've got is, what we've got is the shop floor interface. So this is the interface people will see if they're scanning in on the shop floor. For time and attendance, we've got this solution here. So this will, typically run on a tablet or a PC or something by the change room. And as people walk by, they can essentially scan their badge to clock in, or if you've got the facial recognition turned on, they stand in front of it for a couple seconds and it recognizes them and clocks them in. Now, if you're using the barcode badges to scan in, we can also have it take a picture of the employees so that, you don't have, their friends clocking them in when they're late, that sort of thing. And it's very quick and easy. So for example, I'll scan somebody in here and it just, changes the color, shows an icon, and, you can set that delay for a few seconds. But if you've got a lot of people coming in, it's very quick and easy. I can go through and I'll scan in, 3 people here or something like that, one after the other, 3 or 4. So I scan that person, that person, that person, that person. Nope, and that's a bad barcode. So I scan a bad badge and it yells at me. So if somebody tries to scan their can of Coke or whatever, it's not going to wreck your system. So that's basically it, and that clocks them in and out for the day. That's a replacement for a punch clock. You don't have to use it, but it's available if you do. Now, what they actually see on the shop floor, this just runs in a web browser. So this is a standard, browser. So anything that can run a browser, like the hardware we talked about, will work fine. And again, you'll normally have fixed terminals out there. Ideally, quite a few of them. The pricing isn't based on terminals, so you can throw as many terminals out there as you like. And an employee will walk up. He'll unlock the terminal with a badge, which we'll show you in a sec. He'll scan the activity he's working on, and then he'll go do his work. And that's really the entire workflow. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scan my badge. It unlocks the terminal, shows me my time card for the day, so it tells me when I clocked in, name, all that kind of stuff. This is my time card for the day. It's blank because I haven't done anything yet today. I just scanned in for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan the activity I'm working on. So I scan a single barcode, and what it does is it brings up the production order and all the details around it. So one barcode tells me the operation I'm working on, the production order line number, the production order. So it's very easy for people to do. And now I just walk off and I do my work. After whatever timeout you set, this will lock again. Or if I prefer, I can scan my badge again and it locks the terminal. Okay. If somebody came up behind me and scanned their badge, it would just switch to them instead. Now I go off, I do my work, I come back, scan my badge again, and now I scan the next activity I'm working on. And I say activity because it doesn't have to be a production order. It could be a job, it could be a fixed asset for asset maintenance, it could be a service order, it could be non-productive time. So let's say after I did that, I want to do some cleanup. So I'm doing some sweeping now. So I can track everything to that level of detail. So these non-productive codes can be things like safety meetings or a first aid maybe, or waiting for work, all of those sorts of things. When we talk about first aid, we also have a safety logbook within the system. So you can actually manage your safety program from within NAV now. It'll track, engineering reviews or hazard assessments, audits, all of that kind of stuff, incidents with all the right terminology for, government claims, that sort of thing. So we can track all that non-productive time and the safety incidents, the safety time, all that kind of thing as well. But you'll notice when I scanned the sweeping activity, it clocked me out. It calculated how long I had spent on the prior activity. And in this case, it was 0.02 hours. Now, that's because I have this particular person, or it could be by work center or by person, set up to record time in hours. You could have specific work centers or specific people that record time in minutes or days or whatever. So if I go to the drilling work center, for example, and everything there takes 5 minutes to run, I can have all the time recorded at that in minutes, and the welding work center or whatever it is, maybe that's in hours. Okay. The other option is, the way I've got this set up here, I'm actually allowed to go up and edit that time. So I can use the up or down arrow key to go in and change that that time if I like. That's an option you can turn on or off. And you can also turn the option off that actually calculates that elapsed time. So for workforces where, they're doing the same thing all day, every day, or maybe a couple of things, what they can do is they can just scan the production order at the end of the day and say, I worked 8 hours on it. And that you don't have to clock in and out of those activities if you don't want. And then the other question I normally get at this point is, well, can I have an employee clocked into multiple production orders simultaneously? And I wouldn't have brought it up if the answer was no. So yes, we can. There's a couple of ways we can do that, or a couple of scenarios where you would want to do that. One is, let's say I've got an operator that's running multiple machines. So yes, he can clock into both those production orders, and we can capture that machine time independently of the labor time. So if that machine is running for 2 hours, but there's only half an hour of labor time on it, we can track those things independently. And if you've got automation on the equipment, we can actually go right to the PLC, get that information out, so that we don't have any manual entry to track machine runtime, cycle counts, downtime, that sort of thing. The other scenario is we've got you are running multiple production orders simultaneously. You've got a laser cutter or a paint booth or dip tank or something like that, and you're running 5 or 6 production orders at exactly the same time. You put a bunch of pieces on a cart and you take them into the paint booth or whatever. Well, you can't really clock in and out of each of those individually because they're being done all simultaneously. So what you can do is you can scan those 5 or 10 production orders or whatever it is in a row. It doesn't clock out of anything. And once you've done the work, you clock out of that batch, and it'll automatically split the time proportionally across all of those production orders. So that batching mode helps in any of those scenarios where you're doing multiple production orders simultaneously. All right. Now, the other thing I did mention, we can track time against fixed assets as well. So I'll just illustrate that. And that's both for asset maintenance or potentially inspections. If you have people inspect their equipment before they start in the morning, you have a record of that. If there's an incident, you can prove that process was followed or not followed. But typically it's used for asset maintenance to track that time. And I mentioned jobs and service orders we can also scan against as well. Now, if we go back to production orders, I'll show you another aspect of the time collection here. Let's scan this guy here. And let's say, this is the final assembly task on this particular production order. And let's say it's come back to me for rework because, I assembled it once and I took it over and the guy in shipping dropped it, or the QC guy after the final assembly step found a problem. So it's come back to me for rework. And the reason we care is I still want to track all my time against that particular production order and operation and everything, because that's where my time is going, that work center. But I want to flag it as non-standard time. This is an exception, right? Something happened that's causing me to redo this work. So if I'm comparing my actual times to my expected times and it's double, I want to know why. So in this case, the why is because, sales sold the wrong thing. So what I did was I scanned a barcode, and the root cause now becomes sales. So and I just blamed the sales department for the extra work that I have to do. I could blame, engineering, or blame is probably the wrong word, but I could indicate that engineering was at fault for this. They gave the wrong drawing, or it could be, equipment failure or material defect or whatever you want to put as your own root cause codes here. And then the nice thing about that is I can go in on a weekly or monthly basis or whatever and figure out exactly where this, wasted time is coming from, because it's a huge waste, right? When we talk about rework, that's really an underappreciated cost in the environment. If I have to spend an hour doing this assembly again, that's costing me about 3 hours. The hour it took me to do it the first time, the hour it's taking me to rework it, and the hour I could have been doing something more productive that's gonna generate revenue, plus any time that it took for somebody to find the defect and record it and do all the non-conformance reports and everything else. So it can be very expensive to deal with rework, and being able to track it just with a single quick scan is amazing, actually. And just to illustrate, some of the reports that we have with the system. So I mentioned you could go in and do some reporting. I'll just jump into that real quick. And we use Jet Express for some of these analysis reports. And so that's, free. If you're not familiar, that's a free reporting tool available for Excel. And a few of the ones that we have here, there's a productivity report. It tells me what my productive time is over time frame or specific employees or whatever you like. We've got hours by pay code. So if you're using the time and attendance portion of it, we can tell you how much overtime was spent, those sorts of things. And then this is the one that I was referring to, where if I had all the rework codes broken out into root causes, I could have a chart like this that shows me, here's all my rework for the week, all my rework hours, and it's always engineering, or it's always shipping, or whatever that problem is. And I can narrow down into what the root cause of that wasted cost is, and figure it out. And a few others. We've got, you can do lots of reporting on various aspects of production time and production cost with this. There's another production costing report workbook that we provide as well. Okay. So anyway, I've belabored the rework thing a lot, but that right there is almost enough to pay for the system sometimes if you've got a lot of rework in your environment. Oh, okay. So what I've done so far, I've talked a lot, but what I've done so far from a shop perspective is very, very simple. So I'm just going to sort of reiterate that so that the main message isn't lost. So what I did was, I started at a point like this where I have a piece of paper in my hand with a production order in my hand. I'm going to walk up to the terminal and I'm going to say I'm going to start this production order. As I mentioned earlier, the shop traveler is sort of the most common or most preferred way of doing it. But if you just had a barcode on a part with a production order number on it or something like that, or if you wanted to type in the production order number, we can handle that stuff as well. But I'm going to walk up and I'm going to scan in, and maybe I'm going to use a different employee this time. So I'm going to scan in as a different employee, so Mary here, and then I'm going to scan the activity that I'm working on. And just for fun, I'm going to scan a job instead of a production order. So I scanned a job, I go off, I do my work. You know, the terminal will lock after X amount of time, but I'm just going to manually lock it here. I go off, I do my work, I come back later, I unlock the terminal, and then I scan the next thing I'm working on. And that's it. That's all you have to remember for a lot of the scenarios we deal with. Very, very simple, quick scan, and you're off to the races. Now, let's talk about some more advanced functionality. So I just scanned my badge again, so I'm back in my time card. And, you know, talking about the barcode scanning, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to go more paperless. So what we have available is a dispatch list. So the dispatch list, it could be set up so that when I scan in, instead of seeing my time card, it starts out with the dispatch list. And this is great for touch screens and things like that. You know, you can use the mouse and keyboard, of course, but it's nice if I can just tap on the screen. So what this is showing is all the work centers, or all the operations coming up at the specific work center that I'm at. That's the typical way of doing it. I'm just going to scan in as a different user here, because we've got this particular employee sees everything. So they see all the work centers, all the stuff that needs to be done. And they can simply tap on one of these and tap clock on, and you know, they're off to the races. So they don't actually have to scan a barcode in order to clock onto a job. So where this is useful is, let's say I have a specific work center. We'll use drilling again as an example. I've got a drilling work center. I, you know, scan my badge. We can leave that terminal open all day, and we can see exactly what needs to be done, you know, for the remainder of the day, right? And I can just click on these and clock on and do my work. The other way of looking at this is more graphically. So we also have the ability to see that dispatch list in a graphical format. So this is a graphical scheduling tool, which, you know, I can highlight this and it tells me all the stuff that's going on. I can also click on any of these and clock on directly from this graphical view. The other nice thing about this graphical view is that, you know, for supervisors, they can go in and manipulate the schedule. So for example, I come in, I'm a lead hander or supervisor, and this is my machine center 120, and I know it's down today, or maybe I don't have the material for this particular production order available. So what I'm able to do is actually grab this and say, you know what, I'm going to start this in a couple days, and I'll just move it over, and you'll notice what it'll do is it'll actually reschedule everything around it accordingly. So push this next operation out in front of the one I just rescheduled. So we do have that ability to drag and drop schedule the production orders. Now, this is sort of a more of a tactical thing where, you know, I could use this, I could go in there and look at it from a monthly or even yearly basis. But typically what's going to happen is, you know, exactly the scenario I mentioned. People are coming to the shop floor, they're figuring out what needs to happen. They might move things around onto different work centers or push it out in time a little bit, you know, maybe view it on an hourly basis and move it out an hour or two or whatever. And we update the schedule that way. And then any employee coming in, they can either see that new schedule graphically, or they can see it on the dispatch list like I was just showing. Okay. So we have the sort of grid-based dispatch list and also the graphical dispatch list, and scheduler available for you. All right. Now, you know, that's a basic time collection. So what I'm going to do is go into a little bit more of the production reporting side of things. So I'm going to scan a barcode here, and that's going to clock me into this particular activity, this production order in this case. And you'll notice we've got the ability to record output, scrap, and scrap codes. So we can actually record intermediate output. So if you're doing piece count bonuses, or if you just want to track the completion at individual steps, we can do that. And we can also do finished goods output, including with serial numbers and lot numbers. So if they're assigning the serial numbers and lot numbers on the shop floor, or need to record which specific serial numbers they've output, we can do that as well. All right, so we can do the finished goods and intermediate output. On the consumption side, we show the bill of materials over here, and that can be informational only, or I could actually come in here and do point of use consumption. And that person isn't set up for point of use consumption, so that was their configuration disallowed them from doing consumption. So you can actually do that. That was actually a good example, because you can set it up so that certain people are allowed to do consumption and other people aren't. So I got an error message saying that they weren't set up for it. So what I'll do is I'll log into myself, and I know I've got the rights to do it, and I'm going to scan that same activity. Here's my bill of materials. I'm going to come in here, hit consumption, and I can come in and actually record my consumption quantities, including any lot numbers and serial numbers I'm consuming. So that's really handy if you've got heat numbers or serial numbers or something like that that you need to record on the shop floor, because they're grabbing it off the shelf. You don't know which one they're using. They don't have to write it on a piece of paper now. They can actually scan it in or type it in right here and record that consumption. Even if you're doing back flushing, this is useful for recording scrap. So, you know, you might back flush 10 of these, but I'm going to output an extra 2 or 3 because I scrapped some of them, right? And it's kind of nice if I make a mistake, enter too many, you know, mistype something, I meant to type 3 and I typed 33. It does warn you and tell you that, you know, you've got a potential issue there. It still allows you to do it, but at least it warns the people on the shop floor that there may be an issue with that. Great. Below that, we have our work instructions. So work instructions are comments either on the master routing, on the production order routing, or on the production order itself. So what this allows you to do is, if you've got standard instructions that you always use on this particular operation, you can set them up and they show up every single time. If you have customer specific comments, like, you know, customer specific specifications like painted a certain color or whatever, you can enter those as well, and those will show up here. So both standard instructions like operation specific standard instructions and customer specific instructions or order specific instructions can show up. And this is typically used for, you know, showing additional information. So even if it's not an instruction, you just want to see additional information about this production order or whatever, usually we'll just plug it in here. Okay. Now, beyond this, you know, this might be, it says, you know, build as per attached spec. You know, you might indicate which jig to use, all that. But if you need more information than what this provides, we do have the ability to actually show linked documents. So in here, you can see that somebody has attached a whole bunch of documents to this particular activity. And I can click on any of these and, you know, load them up on the shop floor and do it. So assembly diagrams and inspection checklists and things like that are probably the most useful, but they've got a bunch of other stuff here that I might need. So for shipping, I might want to, you know, I have a pre-printed bill of lading template or something I might want to print or whatever. Now, these come off the item and production order. So if I've got a standard assembly, I stick that on the item, and every time I come in here, I'm able to load that drawing for that particular item on the shop floor. If it's production order specific, then I can just drag and drop into that production order to record it. So I'll actually show you that just for 2 seconds because it's actually worth looking at. So I'll go into that production order, and this is the one that I was clocked into, and I'll open up that, that production order here. And you'll notice here's all my linked documents associated with it. These are the things that you actually saw on the shop floor. But if I wanted to add additional ones, let's just say I come in here, I go into documents, and I'm just going to grab, you know, a couple of these guys, let's say these two. I can just drag and drop them right onto it, and it tells me I've already linked that once before. I'm just going to override it. And basically what that does is it comes in and it generates that. And next time I come in here, you'll see the additional things that I dragged and dropped into that view. So very easy to attach documents into the system. And incidentally, that drag and drop works throughout NAV, not just production orders. I can drag and drop onto items or POs or sales orders or whatever you like. But very simple to attach things from a production perspective. In addition to the linked documents, you see we've got an inspection checklist here that I can run. You know, open up Excel and fill it in or whatever and save it. But we also have the ability to do quality inspections directly from within NAV. So this allows me to set up an inspection checklist within NAV And I've just created one called generic here that's got a bunch of various data types to illustrate it. But you can have a different inspection for different products or different work centers, like different products at different work centers. Whatever type of inspection you want at any point in the process, you can set those up. And within NAV, you can actually create these inspection checklists and assign them to purchase receipts or to shipments or to people or whatever the heck you want an inspection on. But in the shop floor, it's related to production orders specifically. So I've defined this inspection checklist, and then I can actually come in here and enter the results of that checklist. And this is going to be tied to that specific production order and specific lot number and serial number. So if this is a lot or serialized item, it would be tied specifically to that. You know, like I said, I've just got some dummy stuff here that I can use to illustrate what's going on. So, you know, you can set up, you know, very bad is actually a pass and excellent is a fail if you want. I mean, that isn't how it works by default. You decide exactly what's a pass or fail based on any of the values you specify. So here I've set some, you know, limits on this on the thing. So I can enter, you know, a 6 and it's a fail, but if I enter a 4, you know, that's a pass. So all of these sorts of things you can define within NAV as a template, and when you clock onto that operation, it automatically creates that test for you, and you can execute that test from the client here. Okay. All right. So one thing I didn't mention at the beginning, but sort of relates to this. Everything I do is in NAV. So when you saw me drag and drop those documents onto the production order, or you know, these inspection checklists, everything is done from within NAV. There is no separate database or anything like that. We are built directly into NAV. There's a role center for it for the sort of administrator, like a payroll person or administrator. But everything we do is based on you know, this module within NAV, this time collection module. So it's all real time. So if I come in here and I'm a production planner or a sales rep, and I want to see what's going on for a specific production order, it's very easy for me. I can come in, I can go into the production order. As a matter of fact, let's do that. We'll go in and we'll have a look at that production order that I was clocked into. And if I come in and I look at the routing, I can scroll over and I can see exactly what's going on with that production order. So I can see, you know, all the unposted time that's in here. None of these guys actually have time on it, but I can see exactly who's clocked in, how much time they've gone on it, what time they clocked into this production order. I can see all of that detail. Right, so I know exactly what's going on in real time from a production planning perspective, and also a sales rep perspective. You know, they get a phone call asking, you know, what's the status of my order. They can go in and they can actually see exactly where it is within the process. Okay. Similarly with historical data, we actually track, you know, the employee, the type of activity they were performing, like was it rework or something else on that. And so you can go back and see exactly who worked on, you know, which operation at which date and time. So if you get warranty claims or something like that, you can actually now start tracing back. Maybe it's always a specific person or a specific, you know, time that those things occur. Right. So again, all real time. Now going back to you know, the capabilities within NAV. Everything we do goes into a time card. So there's a bunch of time cards that get created. Every time I clock into the shop interface, we get a time card. And related to that, we have approvals. So approvals are technically optional, but you know, generally you want your supervisors approving the time for the employees that are clocking in and out. And so we have a time card approval capability. We actually have two. So one is if you're more jobs oriented, where you have a project manager that's, you know, that's looking after the time and making sure it's on budget and all those sorts of things. That project manager can approve the time for people on their project, even if those people don't report to them. So, you know, we might have, you know, 10 machinists that clearly wouldn't report to, you know, a project manager sitting in the office, but he can see all those people's time that apply to his project and decide, you know, if it makes sense or not, or if he has to talk to the guys or whatever, and make it billable, or, you know, split the time or whatever needs to be done. But from a supervisory level, if I come in here, now I don't actually have anybody reporting to me. I'm not important enough. but I am important enough to be a super user, or important enough to know how to set that flag. So I'm just going to show all the employees that have time cards in the system, and I'm also going to show the ones that are currently in progress. So what this does, this is the supervisory approval view, and you can see this in the web browser as well. So if you go into, if all you have out on the shop floor is a web browser running, the supervisor can go in and get the same view in the web browser as well. But what they do is they come in here, and this top list will show them all the time cards for the people that report to them, for the previous shift, for example. So if I come in the morning, I'm a supervisor, I come in the morning, I open this up, here's all the time cards for the people that report to me from the previous day. And this top list sort of gives me the high level details, like when they clocked in, when they clocked out. So here's an example over here, this one for Linda. It tells me, she clocked in at 11:37. Over here, we've got it calculated. So we've got some rounding rules that just rounded it down to 11:30. So if you're using the time and attendance piece, that gives you a number for a time for payroll that makes sense. You don't want payroll to be paying off 11:37. You want them to be paying off a rounded number. At any rate, we've got the rounding rules that you can set up on there. So this shows me sort of what happened. They actually recorded 25 hours worth of time, which is not realistic. But you'll notice that this thing is red. They're actually all red because they all have issues. But that means it has a problem. So anything that's got this validation error turns red. So what a supervisor will do is they will come in, they'll have 10 time cards or 20 time cards for the guys from the day before. They'll find all the red ones, so you might have 2 or 3 red ones, and they'll look at what those exceptions are. And in this particular case, it's telling me a couple of things. She was supposed to work 8 hours, and she didn't. She worked a lot more. And the login time is less than the hours entered. So you'll notice that she was actually only logged in for 25 hours and 35 minutes, but she recorded 25 hours and 42 minutes worth of time. So that's a little unrealistic, but often what you might see is somebody's clocked in for 7 hours, but they recorded 8 hours worth of time. That's only possible if you allow them to edit their own time. So if they're allowed to go in and change the time that's calculated, you might see that. So those are issues, and the supervisor can address them. Probably not a realistic one. A more realistic one might be something like this, where I was in there for 23 minutes. I've only recorded 16 minutes of time. I forgot to clock out, right? I haven't clocked out for the day yet, so we've got some leftover time. I also didn't work the 8 hours I was supposed to work. And then we've got some warnings on the line level. So if we go down here, it'll actually highlight exactly what the issues were. This particular production order requires setup time. I didn't enter any. That may or may not be a problem, but the supervisor could actually fix this. He could, decide that this 0.2 hours should be setup time instead of runtime, and he can make that change. Similarly here, no setup time. And here, this is the one I forgot to clock out to, so it gives me all these warnings. So I can actually, as a supervisor, come in and change that, and then we'll see it update. Now you'll notice that I changed it to an hour and it's still red. Well, now the issue is, this was supposed to be a 12-minute task, and I just spent an hour on it. So, maybe I should change this to rework or something like that. Okay, so the supervisor does have that control over the people that report to him. And when they're done, they can just come in, they fix up all the red time cards, they select it all, they hit approve, and we're done. So really the approval process, if I've got 10 or 20 people reporting to me, that's a 5-minute job to do the approvals every day. So it does streamline and simplify it quite a bit. There's a lot more information you can see here, weekly time summaries, and there's a bunch of other fact boxes you can make visible for more detail. All right. Now, I won't get into a lot of detail on the other stuff. I've got about 5 minutes left here before we open it up for questions. But I will mention that, we do have the employee shift patterns that you can come in, define those, including break time and all that. We can automatically adjust breaks off the clock in and clock out times. We've got the rounding rules and the exception messages for shifts. So a payroll person can run an exception report that says, he showed up when he wasn't supposed to, or she didn't show up, or came in late or left early, those types of exceptions. So we can run an attendance report for individual employees or shifts or whatever you want to do. So the shift patterns are kind of nice. And then you can also use these to schedule employees as well. So you can, for example, I'm working days for the next 2 weeks, and after that I'm working nights. Well, you can set up that schedule in the system so that it automatically pays them appropriately based on the shift that's defined for them, right? So they might get a shift premium if they're working nights, and I can schedule that within the system, right? So again, that's time and attendance. I think it's extremely valuable. A lot of people just want to focus on the shop floor, but that whole time and attendance piece is so easy because they're already performing all those operations in the shop. To be able to bring that information in and then be able to, you know, calculate your payroll adjustments and send that off to your payroll system is pretty slick. All right. I think I could keep going for hours, but I think I'm going to stop there for now and open it up and see if there's any questions from anyone.
Thanks so much, Mark. Really appreciate it. At this point, I don't really see any questions. If anybody has any questions or whatnot, or thinks of any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or even Mark over at InsightWorks. Let me put my contact information up on the screen. All right, I see no questions. So, Mark, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch if I hear anything.
Excellent. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.